Greetings, YouTube. Let's talk about mythical monsters. Now, I was poking around on the internets recently, and I found a list of 100 greatest mythical and legendary creatures. This is on the Owlcation um, blog, which is STEM, Humanities, Academia, Social Sciences. Interestingly enough, to my personal taste, that I have bookmarked the page itself. But this particular article is relevant to us gamers because it lists monsters, and it was kind of interesting to see how many I actually knew off the top of my head. But it is a proper article. Like, why are mythical creatures? What are mythical creatures? Do mythical creatures exist? Um, it's like an epic collection of the top 100 creatures, and it's got a nice bit of illustration of like one of those humanoid mandrake brutes, which is kind of cool. Top 10 greatest mythological creatures and legendary creatures of myth and folklore. First, I find this interesting. This is number one, so they're going top down. The werewolf. I gotta tell you, I would not think of the werewolf as the number one mythical creature. I really wouldn't. Would it make the top 10? I think, yeah, I think shapeshifters. I might say I broaden it probably into shapeshifters. Mythological shapeshifters are usually humans that turn into some kind of humanoid or some kind of animal, something like that. Yeah, I would put shapeshifters in the top 10 probably, but I don't know if I'd put them at number one. The dragon, that's a good choice. The chimera, this was interesting because I didn't really think that most people knew what a chimera was. Remember, this is a blog about aimed at folks who are in academia, so maybe there's enough just general gamers in academia that the chimera is something that is common. Though the word chimera does have a scientific meaning as well, so maybe there's some cross-fertilization there. The Loch Ness Monster, that one I would have probably thought is number one or close to it. Mermaid, the Yeti, which is interesting because it has a link. The other ones in this top 10 list don't. Okay, I haven't looked at it, but the Basilisk, again, not a common one. I think that most people know, but again, this is aimed at academia. The Medusa and the Griffin. Now, I got to tell you, I'm a huge Griffin fan, always have been. I love that fusion of eagle and lion, and it's just a wonderful symbol to me of of the classic heraldic nobility. Um, yeah, I've always loved the griffin. I thought that was a very cool beastie. Um, the existence or non-existence of legendary creatures and mythological creatures. So they're actually throwing information in here. Now we go into top 11 to 20. The centaur. Okay, that's a good one. That's a big one up there. Shows up in Greek myths and such. The hippogriff, again, an obscure one. I wouldn't think most people knew what a hippogriff was. Fairy, that's a good one. The kappa, like that's a good one as well. And I think common enough because of manga and anime that the kappa is in the general zeitgeist of people's uh, of our culture when it comes to thinking of mythological beasties. The Pegasus, that's a good one. The ghoul, um, the ghoul proper as kind of like uh, the graveyard dwelling creature that eats the dead that have been brought to it, rather than necessarily a risk to the living, is one that I don't think most people know about. I don't really don't, but it's a cool. I love the ghouls. I think ghouls are awesome to be used in games. And Lovecraft's Pickman's model is a great story. The Pixie, the Cyclops, and this one listed as plural. Um, I I can't remember if the Cyclops was originally a single creature that has become a plurality because we think they're really cool or not. The Red Cap, a term I use for the members of a certain political party here in America, and I use it with justification. The Manticore, again, not a common call, but the Manticores are cool. There's no denying it. Beliefs associated with mythical creatures in various cultures. And now we get to 21 to 40. The Typhon, deadly serpentine giant with Greek mythology. That's a new one to me. I think I may have heard the term, but I didn't place it. I couldn't tell you what a Typhon was. Now I can look it up. The sea serpent, awesome one. Leprechaun, okay, that's cool. That's a in the you find those in decorations and stuff. Fenrir, gigantic, monstrous wolf, Norse mythology. Uh, the Kapakti, sea monster associated with being part frog, part fish, and part crocodile, Aztec mythology, which means I probably pronounced it wrong. I may look that one up. That sounds like it could be interesting. An imp, minotaur, hydra. Those are ones that I think have shown up in enough fantasy that they're pretty common. Um, the Fomorians, which is Irish, monstrous and hostile beings. Now I knew about those because I've done quite a bit of reading on mythology and pagan beliefs. So those have popped up on my radar, but I don't know how common they are for most people. Um, the Cardi- Charybdis, that's right, Charybdis, deadly sea monster, Greek mythology. No, I think the word Charybdis wouldn't click in my head, but sea monsters show up in pretty much any legend of people who spend a lot of time on the sea. Uh, uh, Behemoth, that's uh, you know uh, Jewish myth, and I think I actually have a beneath. My wife bought me a Behemoth figure at one point. Cerberus, that's a classic. Now this one was obscure as far as a monster was concerned. The Echidna, monster that has half snake, half woman references to as the mother of monsters Greek mythology. Now, I knew of the mother of monsters mythology that I got, but I didn't remember the name Echidna, and it makes me smile that that name is associated with the tiny little spiky thing, creature that can be found in the real world. Um, the Adlet, creature with upper human body and lower body of a canine, Inuit mythology. Again, to me, that kind of sounds those kind of mythological chimeras, cross references, fusions like that are pretty common in mythology, I think. The Cucus, fire-breathing giant Roman mythology. So I probably pronounced that wrong. Cacus. Okay, here's a big one. This is going to be fun. It's Greek. The Hecaton Cares. That's a big one. It's a three ferocious giants with incredible strength. Oh, okay. So one of those group group monsters like the three fates, that kind of thing. They always come in packs. The Gurion, monster with three human-like heads, Greek mythology. Um, Scorpion Man. Okay, that doesn't sound all that romantic. That's the Scorpion Man. Creature with the body of a scorpion and arms, torso, and head of a human. That's Akkadian. That I gotta tell you, I haven't read much about Akkadian myth, so I know I know that the Akkadians were, an extent people at one point, but I haven't read much about them. The Fakan. No, this is Irish. This is Scottish. So it's Fachan. So I actually don't have any idea how I'm supposed to pronounce that ch. I don't know how you do that in Scott. The ferocious giant with with a half body. So half body in what regard? I know there is the legend of some creature that actually has a half body, so it hops on one leg and it's split down the middle. It's got one arm, one eye. Is that what they're talking about? I always thought they were kind of absurd. It's just me. Next little part of the article is creatures in traditional mythology. Then we get into 41 to 60. The ogre, classic. The Humbaba, lion-faced giant, ancient Mesopotamian mythology. I like the sound of that Humbaba. It's got a nice ring to it. I don't have to look that one up. Um, the Scylla, or it's Greek. It's Greek. Scylla. Monster that lived by the water. Well, that's kind of boring. Cilia? It could be a Cilia. That's a boring description. Monster lives by the water. Like, it's kind of broad, if you ask me. Now we have Persian, which is a word I'm probably going to butcher. The Hadyasha. How do you know? Hadayas. Hadayas? Giant land creature. It's kind of, again, not what you'd call poetically described. Um, the Kiwako, cannibalistic giant, half human and half animal. This is Abenaki mythology. That would be endemic to the North American continent. Um, the Abaya, a magical eel from Melanesian mythology. Don't know much enough about Melanesian mythology, gotta be honest. Okay, we got another uh, tough one. This is from medieval heraldry. The Cali, it's called the Cali Greyhound, but is it pronounced? It's Cally then Greyhound. Is it Cali? I don't know. Creature with the torso of an antelope the head of a wildcat, and the claws of an eagle. I could sounds kind of cool. I kind of like that one. That kind of sounds like something that you might find as like the guardian of a forest or something. Then we get the Phoenix, Colossus, the Tarrasque, which is a fearsome dragon-like hybrid. French mythology, we all know what the Tarrasque is if you play D&D. It is the top tier monster, at least it's supposed to be. The Cockatrice, which I've always enjoyed because it's an angry chicken. The Harpy, I like that one. The Makara, a sea creature often depicted as te- um, as a terrestrial animal, Hindu mythology. So it's a sea creature that is a terrestrial. That's a strangely confusing description. Okay. The Amit. This sounds familiar. Human devourer with a body believed to be part hippopotamus. Yes, okay, I know that rang a bell. The Garuda, human eagle hybrid known to be a protector, Hindu giant, Gaian, Buddhist mythology. That one seems to cover quite a bit of stuff, territory. Um, could it be like the protector of the dead, or just a protector in general? So we know that sky burials are a thing in some of these cultures. So maybe that's related to that. Could be a winged lion. It's a mythological beast lion with bird-like wings, medieval bestiary. That's just cool. Winged cats have always been cool. The Leviathan, huge sea monster. That's from the Jewish mythology. The wyvern. I've always liked wyverns, and they're listing it as European heraldic references. A creature with the reptilian body and dragon's wings and a head. And I always thought of wyverns as being lesser on the scale of the dragons. There's like dragons and then there's drakes, which are less intelligent, but they look like physical dragons, just much smaller. Then you have wyverns, which only have four limbs. They're even further down that evolutionary path of primitiveness kind of thing. The Namazu, giant catfish known to cause earthquakes. Japanese mythology. That's cool. I like that one. Then we have the Yale slash Centaur, four-legged beast creature with boar-like tusks and large horns and resembling a goat slash antelope. European mythology. Never heard of the word Yale being associated with a monster before. I have heard about the word Yale being associated with, questionable academics and arrogant graduates. The questing beast has, of course, that's Arthurian legend, serpent, leopard, lion, heart hybrid, not harp, heart. Then we have a section called theories about legendary creatures uh, mythical and legendary creatures and mythical creatures. Now we get into 61 through 80. The elf, that's a classic. The Maris of Diomedes or Diomedes, uh, quartet of flesh-eating, man-eating horses. The Greeks love pack monsters, don't they? Um, the Serpapard, mythical animal with the body of a leopard and neck of a snake. Egyptian. I've seen pictures of that one, and I think it's kind of cool. I kind of like the idea of that. Again, hybrid monsters are always kind of fun. The Antero Vipunen, a giant known to possess knowledge and spells. Finnish mythology. Doesn't sound like a particularly bad guy though. Go to see, get him, go to him like, hey, you're the equivalent of Google. Can you help me? The Indus worm, a gigantic white carnivorous worm, medieval mythology. I think I have heard about the Indus worm. The Soglav, which is Serbian, so I'm butchering that word. I am sorry. I apologize. A dog-headed monster with human body and horse legs. That kind of makes things like a canine version of a minotaur, really. But it would be a smaller scale because, yeah, I just think imagine it, dog head and stuff. Yeah, I think of more of a human scale, but still kind of scary. Now we have another. That's gonna have one. Aspig do colony. I don't know. Aspidochechelone. Yeah, I'm not pronouncing that one right. Giant sea monster with spines on back. We have the siren, creatures with the body of a bird and chest and head of a woman. That is, I didn't know that was Russian. Is that Russian? Oh, okay. Um, we got the Sinophenally, a jackal-headed humanoid. The Myrmecolion, ant hybrid, an ant-lion hybrid. That's kind of cool. I like that. That sounds interesting. The Argus Panopetus, which is from the Greek, a multi-eyed monster. And that's not poetically described. Then we have the Ekik, a bird-like flesh-eating creature from the Philippine mythology. Oddly, I think I may have heard that word before. Again, I read weird stuff. The Uzlum bird, mythical beast known by the to fly backwards, Australian folklore. That makes me smile. Hellhound, that's a classic. Well, the underworld dog with super strength and agility. Global culture. I don't think of Hellhound as yeah, I think it is as a the kind of like a top tier canine, very large, black, glowing eyes, maybe even fire breath. I think is that a D&D thing or is that potentially from mythology as well? I'm not sure, but I've always liked hellhounds, and there are dogs in the real world that kind of make that kind of look that way. I can't remember the name. It begins with a C, but it's a breed of dog that very much look like hellhounds. Then we have the um, Monoceros, a horse with the tail of a boar, feet of an elephant, and head of a stag with a single horn. That's from medieval bestiaries, and that sounds kind of absurd. All right, I think I might laugh if I saw that one. It might hurt its feelings. We had the water leper, giant frog with a tail similar to a lizard and bat wings in place of forelegs. Welsh mythology folklore. That one sounds really cool. I like that. Then we have the Ophilia serpent bull hybrid, Greek mythology. Why not? The Egyptians can do it. Well, the Greeks aren't going to let them get away with having the market on that one. Now we have, this is a Lakota, so I'm going to pronounce it the Ugtala. Tala? Gila? Reptilian monster or serpentinoid. Serpentoid? Serpentoid. I don't think I've ever heard the word serpentoid. I'll have to look that one up. Creature. The Capricorn. Monstrous humanoid associated with the evil Romanian mythology, so I probably pronounced that as wrong. Then we have what makes a mythological beast real, the relevance of mythology today, and then we have the last listing of this. Boy, this is going to run long, but I don't care. We have 81 through 100. The Mapingauri, which is Brazilian, ape-like giant sloth. I actually think I don't think I've heard that word, but I think I've heard somebody talking about that as like a cryptid. The Yali, lion-like creature. That again is not descriptive, but I like the word Y-A-L-I. It's got a nice ring to it. Then we have the Fishman, which is amphibious humanoid-looking cryptid. The Cantab uh, Cantabrian mythology? Cantabrian? I don't know where that's from. But yeah, Fishman is common, and of course Lovecraft loved it as well. Then we have the Asaku, which is Babylonian, so I have no idea how to pronounce that. Monsters and evil spirits known to kill humans. Oh, that sounds like a category. It doesn't sound like a specific monster. Sleipnir, eight-legged horse believed to be ridden by Odin. I don't think you can question whether Odin rode his own horse, because that was his horse. It's interesting that they're very much throwing individual creatures in here as well as categories. Then we have, oh, this is Abenaki, so I'm going to butcher this one. Sinikiwak, giant stone giant race. Okay, that sounds kind of cool. Oshi-Ani, bull-headed monster with a horn. That's Japanese. The whole Oni category is fairly flexible. The Langma, which is Chinese. I think I may have said that right. Winged horse that had scales of a dragon. Now, that sounds nice. I like that's a good visual. That'd make a great PC steed, wouldn't it? Okay, this one's going to be a tough one. The Nguruvilu, fox-like snake found by water beds. Interesting. Uh, Mapuche mythology. Mapuche, which means I'm pronouncing it wrong. My apology to if that is your culture. I'm an American. I only speak English, and that is not really all that well. Then we have uh, the Loup Carcoul, which is French, so I'm not pronouncing that way properly as well. Hybrid of snake mollusk. Sorry, that sounds like a gooey duck to me. Which is a real creature, which kind of looks like a penis in a shell. But yeah, oh, okay. I can have a hard time taking that one seriously too. Then we have one from the indigenous Amazonian mythology, so I'm hoping I'm not going to pronounce this too poorly. The Runa, Yakuruna, yeah. Mythological people with head and feet backwards, believed it to live in underwater colonies. I know heard of the beings that had heads and feet backwards. Didn't know the name. Bashi, a giant snake known to eat elephants. That's a big snake. That's kind of like the land version of a rock. Maybe they hang out together and have tea. Um, the Teyu Yagua? It's Garin, so I don't know if how I'm supposed to pronounce that. A lizard dog hybrid with 7 dog heads. Kind of cool. The Indrik, one-horned gigantic bull with deer legs and a head of a horse, vaguely resembling a rhinoceros. Russian mythology. Doesn't sound all that threatening. The Ona centaur, human-donkey hybrid medieval bestiary. Um, that would be kind of cool, human-donkey crossbreed. Some of it has got an inferiority complex because they're not an actual centaur. Then we have the Urkutu, a ox slash humanoid from Sardinian mythology. Don't know much about Sardinia. I know I have a book somewhere. I had a book somewhere about Sardinia architecture at one point. The Hoa Kai, it's Mayan, so I'm probably butchering that. Half man, half beast creature. Again, not to descript it. What's the beast? Or is it a category? So you've got more than one type of them. Could be. Then we have this is going to be a Greek one. Um, the Laestrygonians, which is just man-eating giants. Aren't all man giants usually have the reputation of being man-eating, even if they don't? And then we have the um, Moitul, or Toi, no, sorry, that's an I. Moi Toi, hybrid serpent peacock monster from Garuni mythology. Serpent peacock. That doesn't sound particularly threatening. I guess, but I'm getting this kind of peacock with like, into the head stake thing, which could be kind of interesting and could put you off guard because you're thinking it's just a peacock and until it gets too close then it bites you. Then they have a questionnaire at the bottom, which is the most fascinating mythological beast? And it doesn't list all 100, but it lists quite a few. I'm going to have to check this out and I'll have to see which I think is the most interesting on this one. And then they're nice enough to give a source of further reading because again, this was written by academics. Um, and then there's the comment section, the first one. So informative. You are correct, Ray. It is, in fact, so informative. It said most of these creatures are from Europe. You should add more diversity. I don't think they were mostly from Europe. And maybe? I always kind of think about the zone about the Mediterranean Sea being a fusion of Europe and Asia. So maybe I'm being a little more generous in my categorization. Then we have, wow, man, you're so intelligent. It is interesting. The snide comments one finds on the internet. They always make me laugh. All right, so I've babbled on long enough. What have I babbled on for? 24 minutes. My apologies. But this is a cool list. I'll link it below. You can go take a look at it and read the article proper if you want. And check out the blog Allocation, because I found it interesting enough that I'm going to go back and read more of their articles, which is always an indication that you've succeeded if you've got somebody's attention and they're willing to make a recommendation, right? So let's talk about our favorite monsters.